So this should tell you that evil is among us. Evil is lurking into the trenches once again, folks, because Dick Cheney, the Darth Vader himself of politics, is endorsing Kamala Harris. Dick Cheney, Dick Solus MF Cheney, the war criminal, the darkest supervillain on the face of the earth, who went for heart surgery and the doctors couldn't even find his heart. That's a joke. Dick Cheney is endorsing Kamala Harris after his daughter, the Democratic sweetheart now, Representative Liz Cheney, offered her endorsement of the Democratic nominee earlier this week. This is from NBC News. This is awful. This should be the liberals screaming right now. This should be anyone who has been around for the last 20 years should be screaming in gluttony and horror right now in the fact that you have a war criminal, this heinous, evil, maniacal supervillain, is supporting Kamala Harris. Why? Because Kamala Harris and him share a common path. They want to support the deep state war industry. And both neocons do think alike. And you know who else is on support with this? Apparently 12 other predominant Republicans have endorsed Kamala Harris. Because, God forbid, a game show host that is a little outside the edges, colors outside the lines a bit, is too much for the status quo to handle, too much for the deep state to handle. And that's why they're fusing together to create this ultra powerful, wealthy, elitist deep state cult known as the Democratic Party. It's not even the Democratic Party anymore. There's no Democrat, there's no Republican, there's no left, there's no right. It's basically us versus them. That's where I'm seeing this. This is where direction is going, folks. 2024 is the election of us versus them. It's, do you want the game show host that's a little rough on the edges, or do you want the deep state to continue on screwing your life over and over and over again? What direction do you want to go, folks? That's what's on the line in this ballot. That's what's on the line for this election. Not democracy, because your democracy was already taken away by all these fuckers. Your democracy was taken years ago by all these people. Now they're coordinating together to say, hey, we got to stop this evil monster, this game show host that we liked, 10 years ago, because he might, do things that are not acceptable in our cult. And of course, they're going to agree on the same wars. They're going to agree on the same bullshit policies for the rich and favor the aristocrat wealthies and endorse them and donor pledges them and not do anything for the people. So, of course, Dick Cheney is in the right for him to support a person like Kamala Harris. Same with George Bush, same with Mitt Romney, same with all these other individuals, these anti-Trumpers. Not because Trump governs any different than they do. It's because they can't handle the fact that a game show host, a celebrity, got into politics. They can't handle the fact that Trump may be an actual outsider, maybe a little bit of an individual that can make his own decisions. God forbid he thought that maybe being the president, he would have control over the CIA. He would have control over the intelligence services. He would have control over military powers. Boy, was he wrong. Boy, was he wrong. And that's why they have been, harassing him with lawsuits, with lawful arbitrations against him. That's where all these indictments, all these jurisdictions, these criminal court cases all came about because they were trying to trump up charges to silence him out during the election. The raid on Mar-a-Lago, they tried to assassinate him, for God's sakes. Like, they will stop at nothing. They will stop at goddamn nothing to silence out people that think outside the box. They will stop at nothing to silence the people that color a little bit outside the lines. And here's Tucker Carlson doing his little tour here of his nationwide tour endorsing his podcast, and I think did he get a book published recently? I don't know. But here's him talking about how Kamala Harris just got endorsed by a family of evil psychotic supervillains. Like this, it's like getting an endorsement from the Manson family. Like you might as well just say, "Hey, Hitler likes me, yay!" Like you wouldn't scratch your head and go, "Wow, that's kind of disgusting. That's kind of cringeworthy that these people that are so awful and disgusting." And but here's Tucker Carlson on this.
What they actually care about is the ability to continue to fight pointless wars, because that's where all the money is. That's where all the money is. And if you don't believe it, maybe you haven't checked your phone today to see that Dick Cheney and his horrible daughter have endorsed Kamala Harris. Dick Cheney. Now, why is that? What does Dick Cheney have in common with Kamala Harris? And it's really interesting, actually, because they're constantly telling us that the divides are along race and gender. And they were always telling us Dick Cheney is this rich white guy, and Kamala Harris is this oppressed woman of color. They've got nothing in common. But actually, they have everything in common. Because they're both neocons. That's exactly right. They have everything in common. And it tells you what a lie this race and gender stuff is. That's not the divide. The divide is in your heart. And if you think it's okay to kill people in order to get rich, you're on their side. And if you don't, you're on our side, no matter what you look like.
And that is the truth that they don't tell you, folks. That's the honest to God truth. That's why all this identity crap saying that, you know, we have to vote Kamala Harris because she's be the first one president and the first color president, that doesn't matter to people anymore. That doesn't matter. None of that matters. Sure, it'd be a nice thing to see a female politician gain leadership. Sure, that'd be a nice little check mark off the box there. But again, as Tucker Carlson said, the only reason that they're supportive of each other is because they both benefit off of pointless wars. They both benefit off of mass murder of innocent civilians. They're both sinister, evil MFers. And considering that they're all coordinating together to screw over at least the party that's willing to reach out to the people, shows how sinister and corrupted the Democrat Party is. It's not even, I can't even say Democrat anymore. It's no longer Democratic. It's the deep state party. That's what the Democratic Party is. It's the deep state party. If you're in favor of all these wars, all these heinous policies used to criminalize and penalize the innocent civilians that work tirelessly in, day out, then by all means, head towards the trenches. Or if you're a mindless zombie that gets soaked into the brainwash, division of identity politics and the silver spoon that's dangling in front of your nose, then that's yours. That's your party. But concerning the fact that it's a uniparty, and that's why you're seeing a lot of Republicans switching to the Democratic Party. It's not crazy. It's not cringeworthy. They both work for the same masters. They both work for the same donors. So to say that it's interesting that all these Republicans are going towards the Democrats to support like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. No, it isn't that interesting, because you know why? They both are controlled by the military-industrial complex, by Wall Street, by big banks, by big oil, by big pharma. They're all part of the same goddamn club, and you and I ain't in it. That's why they're supporting Kamala Harris. Because, yeah, Dick Cheney has nothing in common with Kamala Harris. Nothing. You think a guy from Wyoming who used to rail against and lie deliberately to the entire mass of America to send us into pre-actual war, you think he's going to have anything common with a former prosecutor in California? Well, if you're both for war, yeah, that's what they have in common. That's why they're supportive of each other. And so is Liz Cheney. And that's why they pretend to be so anti-Trump. Because Trump doesn't listen to the military industrial complex. Trump doesn't want to do endless wars. Oh my God, that's going to hurt my bank accounts. Because I'm an immoral, psychotic psychopath that profits off the death and disparity of everybody else. I don't give a shit about anything else. I just want my profits. And in order to keep that, I have to support Kamala Harris. That's what these Republicans are doing. And here's Tulsi Gabbard, who you may recall. Tulsi Gabbard once famously on stage knocked the crap out of Kamala Harris during the 2020 election cycle, when Tulsi Gabbard accurately criticized her record as a prosecutor, criticized her as a district attorney for the state of California. Hey, you locked up innocent people for possession of marijuana and then laughed about you having possession of marijuana. Hey, you deliberately lied and fabricated and hid off evidence to keep these people in jail for private prison labor. You're a sick, twisted lady. You're a sick, twisted individual, Kamala Harris. And here's Tulsi Gabbard again, once again destroying Kamala Harris when she's not even present. That's just how amazing her powers are. I love she's also bringing back the suit. It looks like the suit that she wore the night that she got destroyed by, she destroyed Kamala Harris. And here's her again saying that this endorsement of Dick Cheney proves how disgusting and awful this uniparty is and how much it's horrendous against the people. Listen to this.
I have a very simple message for my Democrat friends, my independent friends, those who may not be sure about who they're voting for in this election. Dick Cheney has just made the choice very clear. A vote for Kamala Harris is a vote for Dick Cheney, the architect of everything that has gone wrong in the Middle East for the last few decades. And so it's interesting because if you listen to the New York Times or some of the other mainstream media, they're saying, oh, don't expect much from Kamala Harris in the way of policies and details and plans, and we're not going to know much about what kind of president she's going to be because she doesn't have much time. They're conveniently ignoring the fact that she's been there working in the White House the last 3.5 years alongside Joe Biden. She's been the last one in the room, according to her, as these big decisions are being made. But we look at who she says, her response to the Dick Cheney announcement today was that she was honored to have his endorsement. And we got military veterans in the house.
Her response to Dick Cheney endorsing, Kamala Harris's response to Dick Cheney endorsing her is she was honored. Think about that. Think about that. Think hard about what kind of presidency, what kind of persona Kamala Harris is going to be for America if she gets elected in 2024. Imagine that. You're getting backed by Dick Cheney. You're getting backed by other Republicans. You're getting backed by war whore Democrats. You're getting endorsed by the never Trumpers. You're getting endorsed by big hedge funds. You're getting endorsed by other heinous individuals that want to do malice things towards the people. What does that say? What does that say? And considering that Kamala Harris still does not have any policies, she is vaguely running this campaign solely on the fact that she was the vice president, Joe Biden. She's a woman and she's a woman of color. That's all she's running this on. Any policy measure, anything that actually needs some sort of, responsibility, it's already handed off to the deep state. They're the ones that are writing up her policies. Her economic advisors are BlackRock. She doesn't have any structural integrity to write her own policies. She's exported it out. She's outsourced it out to BlackRock. For God's sakes. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? And she's so wonderfully hopeful about this sick, twisted bastard who I still can't believe is not behind bars. It shows you how the justice system is such a joke. I cannot believe that this guy isn't behind bars. And also can't believe that just a couple of years ago, and I still have the DVD somewhere, they came out with the movie Vice. Remember when they came out with the movie Vice? Christian Bale played Dick Cheney. It was a really good movie. It really highlighted the sinister aspect of how Dick Cheney got into politics and basically played everybody to becoming the top dog. Even when he was vice president, he was the one in control of the country. He was the one that was in control of the military. He was the one in control of sending troops overseas to inflate his bank accounts and his holdings within the oil companies that he controlled. It's amazing that they documented that so well in that movie just a couple of years ago. And now all of a sudden, he's a patriot. He's such a great patriot because he supports Kamala Harris. Oh my God. Oh my God. I don't know if these people are like insanely evil inside and we're just finding that out, or if they are like mentally retarded. And yes, I'm using the clinical term. So take that. But again, they're pointing out perfectly. Tulsi Gabbard's pointing out perfectly. Tucker Carlson, same thing. The only reason that they're siding with each other is because they're both neocons. They're both in love. They're bloodthirsty warlords, and they just want to do more damage to the general public.
Got a lot of you who probably served in the Middle East like I did, and so it sickened me, Tucker, to read those words today, both from Dick Cheney, Liz Cheney, and Kamala Harris, because we have people who we care very much about who were killed in those wars because of Dick Cheney. Kamala Harris has told us all we need to know about what kind of commander-in-chief she would be. And I don't know about you, but I would not trust her for a moment with the lives of my brothers and sisters in uniform.
Boom. Right there. Tulsi Gabbard, another knockout punch to Kamala Harris. And you don't see in this clip, but later on in the interview, and I wish I had the clip with me, but I don't. Tucker Carlson asked her about what her thoughts on with Hillary Clinton when Hillary Clinton predominantly attacked Tulsi Gabbard for being a Russian asset. Someone who was in politics for many years, left the DNC chairmanship because she wanted to endorse Bernie Sanders and go against Hillary Clinton, and the media railed her and everybody railed against her because how dare you go against our queen. And then she talked openly about the Syrian war. She openly talked about, being in Afghanistan. She was an active soldier. She saw firsthand what this war was doing to people. And she spoke openly about this, and they were trying to silence her out. And Hillary Clinton had the audacity in a podcast to openly say that Tulsi Gabbard is an asset of Russia. She's a Putin's puppet. She's getting, built up by the Russians. She's getting groomed by the Kremlin to say these to someone serving in combat. And Tulsi Gabbard, said that was disgraceful. That was, typical Hillary Clinton fashion. She is the warmonger that she is. And, when the media tried to attack her the first time by saying, aren't you worried about what Hillary Clinton can do to you? Because the Clintons were that powerful, that they're a corrupted dynasty. They will do things to people. They will do things. Just ask Seth Rich. Oh, wait. Did I say that out loud? And Tulsi Gabbard's response was, no, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I've been in combat. I've seen the worst things imaginable. I fought my way into this position. I'm a fighter, and no, I'm not going to be, tormented and blackmailed into giving up my morals, giving up my politics for just to go maintain my status quo position. I'm not going to do that. And that's how she got boosted out of the Democratic Party and is now working with Trump in the transition team and has been openly vocal about a lot of these things. She's wrong about Israel Palestine. I scold her on that, but other than that, she's been very consistent on a lot. That's what she said, and that's because she's a veteran. She's a combat vet. She's seen firsthand action of what these wars do to people, and to have that mindset to openly comment about two warlords, especially the fact that Dick Cheney was the one that lied her into war in the first place. And now to see Dick Cheney openly endorsing Kamala Harris and Kamala Harris openly accepting that invitation from the Cheneys, it just proves how diabolical and bloodthirsty and this party is. And it really is the deep state versus us. It's no longer left versus right. It's not the Democrats versus Republicans anymore. That's all gone. That was all gone. It is now the deep state versus us. Because no matter what political party you're affiliated, again, none of that matters because they all play to the same lobby tune. They all pander to the same donor class. It's a uniparty. It's an oligarchy that they do every single day to screw over everyday people. And if you still think that Kamala Harris, again, Trump, I'm no fan of Trump whatsoever, but I know that Kamala Harris is not the lesser evil. I know that for a fact. In fact, I know that anything outside of pretty much the game show host, anything outside, again, for all the criticism I give Trump and all the things that I dislike about him, he is the least evil out of everybody that is serving. He is the least evil person in that room. There's stuff that he can imagine to do that couldn't even hold a candle to some of the diabolical creatures that roam the halls of the Capitol and the White House. That's how sinister these people are. And do you really have prosperity knowing this? Do you think there's really going to be hope? Really think you're going to put it all aside to vote for Joy when you know that Dick Cheney is also on that ticket? Again, why not just, say the Manson family supports this, or the Hitler family, or Stalin, or Mussolini? I'm sure Ted Bundy and I'm trying to think of the other random serial killers. I'm sure if those figures were still around, they would also vote Kamala Harris, right? Think about how that would sound.